Friends, in our previous lecture, we have discussed the building materials like bricks, stones, lime, and cement. Now, let us discuss the remaining material. One of the important material from the building material is steel. So, let us learn some characteristics and the uses of the steel. Steel. It is manufactured from iron by means of Bessemer process or open hearth process. The manufacturing process, the name of the manufacturing process here is called as the Bessemer process or open hearth process. Steel mainly contains iron, which is having the carbon percentage ranging from 0.15 to 1.5% together with small percentage of silicon, phosphorus, sulfur and manganese. All these material togetherly known as the steel. Now, the grades of the steel are dependent upon the percentage of the carbon used in the steel. So according to the percentage of the carbon, the grades of the steel are mainly classified into three types. The first one is the mild steel, which is called as the low carbon steel because the percentage of carbon in this type of steel is less than 0.2%. The second type of steel is called as hard steel or medium carbon steel. The percentage of carbon in this type of steel varies from 0.25% to 0.7%. While the third type of steel is tar steel or high carbon steel, in which the percentage of the carbon is zero point 0.7 to 15%. Now let us discuss the properties of the steel. The steel is basically highly elastic and ductile material. It can be forged, riveted or welded easily. The steel can be hardened by tempering. Steel has good tensile, compressive and shearing strength. As well as steel has good plasticity, heat conductivity, properties like weldability and electric conductivity. Now let us discuss the advantages of the mild steel. As you know, the mild steel is the grade of the steel in which is also known as the low carbon steel, in which the percentage of the carbon is less than 0.2%. So as this steel is very much important as a building material which is widely used for all types of structure, let us learn or let us understand few of the advantages of this mild steel. This mild steel or the steel is used for all kinds of structural works from building to bridges. It is used for tanks, boiler plates, pipes, tubes, etc. It is also used for stairs, grills, doors and windows. As you know, there are steel doors, steel windows, steel grills. So steel is also used in such type of materials also. Steel is also used for water supply and sanitary fittings. For the roof covering, it is used as corrugated sheets, partition, roof trusses, pile section, rails, etc. Rolled steel is used as a structural section for public and industrial buildings. For example, angles, channels, T-section, joist girders, etc. The mild steel bars are used for reinforcement of cement concrete. High tensile steel, which is also known as a medium carbon steel or tar steel, is used for the pre-stress cement concrete. So these are some of the advantages of the steel. Now, as there are advantages of this mild steel, it has also some disadvantages. Like when it is exposed to the wet climate and action of glasses, it loses its strength and deform at the high temperature. So the care should be taken when it is exposed to the wet climate. Not only this, steel rusting and corrosion are some of the disadvantages of the steel, but it can be prevented by means of coating of paintings, galvanizing, electroplating, like this. It is costlier. The transportation of heavy section leads to the costlier of this material. Now let us go and learn the next material, which is timber. Timber is a natural building construction material obtained from trees or woods. The wood which is used for the building and engineering work is known as a timber. Timber is one of the most important building material since it is widely used and available from the trees. Let us learn some of the requirements of the timber. It should be dark uniform color and it should be dense. The timber should be workable, good machinability, uniform texture, and the freshly cut log surface should emit sweet smell. The timber should be free from cracks, splits, warps, etc. When it is struck, it should produce a deep sound. Not only this, the some of the requirements or the some of the characteristics that it should be weather resistant. It should be tough, hard, dense, and it should be elastic. Now mainly there are two types of timber. First type is a natural type of timber and second one is the industrial type of timber. The natural type of timber is obtained from bamboo, or some of the examples of the natural timber are given as bamboo, banyan, neem, mango, teak, pine, palms. While the industrial timbers are veneers, plywood, fiberboards, impreg timbers, compreg timbers. Now let us see where these timbers are used. It is widely used in railway sleepers, bridges, pipes, furniture, packing materials, decorative pieces, doors and windows, matchbox, boat, roofs, lintel, and arches. Also, it is used in flooring, partition walls, rafters. Now let us run the properties of the timber. The timber should have low heat conductivity as well as it should have small bulk density. It should have relatively high strength. As its volume changes with the moisture content, it should have the long life also. Importance of the timber. As in the earlier slide we have discussed the uses of the timbers. It is also used as a walls, columns, beams, doors and windows in building construction. One of the basic or the most important advantages of the timber is that it is easy to transport due to lesser weight and easy handling. It is used in the furniture decoration of the building. Now here is a difference of advantages and disadvantages of the timber. Let us go quickly through it. The advantages, first advantages is that it is easy to cut and reshape as per the desired dimension. The second one is it is locally available. The workers of woodwork are easily available. It is useful to make door, window, ventilator and furniture of building in construction. The disadvantages are that it catches fire easily. It can be affected by the termite. It is not suitable for heavy loads and multi-storied structures. Now let us learn the important point related to this material, that is timber, is the seasoning of the timber. Seasoning is the process of removing sap and moisture in fresh timber. The object or the advantages of seasoning of timber is as follows. The first object for the seasoning of timber is to reduce its moisture content to retain edges, size and shape, to increase the strength and durability, to increase workability so that it can be easily sawn or processed. To reduce the weight of the timber, seasoning of the timber is done, as well as to minimize the defects like shrinkage, warping, twisting and cracking. Now let us learn the next material, which is also one of the important material, known as the sand. The sand particles consist of small grains of silica. That is, silica in the form of siliceous or calcareous nature is known as a sand. As you know, sand is a naturally occurring material. It is obtained when the rock wears out due to weathering. Now let us learn the requirements of the sand. The sand should be clean and free from organic and vegetable matter. It should contain sharp, angular and durable grains. The sand should be well graded. It should not contain salt which attracts moisture from the atmosphere. The maximum percentage of the clay in the sand should be about 3 to 4%. The sand should be such that it should pass through the sieve 4.75 mm and it should retain on the IS sieve number 5 as per the Indian standards. As you know, sand is natural as well as the artificial. Natural sand is obtained from rivers, river beds, seashores, lakes, nalas, while the artificial sand is obtained by crushing of stones, gravels, etc. Now let us see the uses of sand. Sand is useful in various construction activity like masonry work, plaster work, flooring and concrete work. It is widely used in all civil engineering structures. It is used as an additive ingredient just to make the mortar and concrete economical. Some of the properties of the sands are: it is naturally available material, durable, it mixes with binding material easily, whitish brown color. The main uses of the sand, we can say that it prevents cracking of mortar during setting. Sand adds density to the mortars. It fills the voids between coarse aggregate like gravels. It increases the workability of the paste. Sand has good bearing capacity if confined and not allowed to run. So these are some of the uses of the sand. Now let us go to the next material, that is aggregates. Aggregates are the natural occurring material like sand, crushed rock and gravel. Aggregates are classified as fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. Fine aggregate are the aggregates which passes through ISCU, that is Indian Standard SU 4.75 mm and written on ISCU number 5. Such aggregates are known as a fine aggregates. For example, natural sand, surki, etc. While the coarse aggregate are the material or the aggregates which passes through an 80 mm sieve and written on 4.75 mm sieve are known as the coarse aggregate. For example, gravel, crushed rock, pebbles, etc. Now let us learn the requirements of aggregates. The aggregates should be sufficiently strong, hard, tough and durable. The aggregate surface should be rough and free from cracks. It should have good soundness. Along with this, it should be free from silt, clay and other residues. If I want to discuss about the properties of the coarse aggregate, then the coarse aggregate should be clean, dense and cubical in shape. It should not contain any organic or other admixtures. It should be sharp, coarse and angular to have good interlocking properties. It should be tough to withstand the impact load. Impact loads are the sudden loads. And it should have the specific gravity more than 2.7. Let us now discuss the uses of the coarse aggregates or the both aggregates, fine aggregates as well as coarse aggregate. Fine aggregates are used to prepare cement mortar, lime mortar and cement concrete. Coarse aggregates are used to prepare cement concrete, that is PCC and RCC, that we are going to discuss in the concrete. Fine aggregates are used in masonry, plaster, flooring, etc. work in building construction. We have discussed this, that is type of aggregate. Aggregates are mainly classified into fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. Fine aggregates are the aggregates which passes through the sieve 4.75 mm or less, while the coarse aggregates are the aggregates which passes through 80 mm sieve and written on the 4.75 mm sieve. The aggregates should be insoluble in water, they are moderate in weight, they are strong and durable, they have resistance to scratches. Now let us come to the next material, that is mortar. Mortar is a paste prepared by adding required quantity of water to mixture of binding material like cement or lime. If the water is added to the mixture of binding material of cement, it is known as cement mortar, and when it is added to the lime, it is known as a lime mortar. Along with this, the fine aggregate like sand. So mortar is nothing but a paste which is prepared by adding quantity of water to the mixture of cement and fine aggregate like sand. So it is a cement mortar. If it is prepared by adding water to the lime and fine aggregate like sand, it is known as a lime mortar. Now let us learn the requirements of mortar. It should have resistance to the penetration of rainwater. It should have good adhesive properties with bricks, stones, etc. It is cheap, durable, and workable. The mortar is mainly used to bind the bricks or the stones firmly in a wall construction work. It is used in plaster work as finishing material to provide weather resistance. Now let us come to the one of the most important material, that is concrete. It is the most important material from the point of view of exam, as well as the it is widely used material in all construction activities. Therefore it has high importance. So concrete is a mixture of cement or maybe lime, sand, crushed rock, and water. It is a major building material for construction work. Now let us try to understand the preparation of the concrete. The ingredients required for the concrete are cement, sand, coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, and water. We have discussed earlier in the aggregate what is mean by coarse aggregate and fine aggregate. So concrete is nothing but the mixture of cement, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and water. Mainly there are two methods of mixing of concrete. The concrete may be mixed by using hands, known as hand mixing, or it is mixed by using machine, which is machine mixing. So let us see the importance of the concrete. The concrete is prepared can be prepared at the project site under supervision and fabricated. The concrete solidifies and hardens, attaining greater strength with age. It means that as the age passes, the strength of the concrete increases. Means the concrete, suppose is having the age of 2 months or having the age of 3 months, obviously the concrete which is having the age of 3 months is having more strength than the concrete which is having the age of 2 months. They are strong and durable. Now let us learn the uses of the concrete. As there are lot of uses of the concrete, in short let us discuss these uses. Cement concrete is used from foundation to slab in buildings. Cement concrete is used in streetwalks, rigid pavements, streets, highways, airports, and in foundation of the roadways. Cement concrete is used in lining of canals and reservoirs, concrete dams, tube wells, and water conducting tunnels. Now we will see the most important point, that is types of the concrete. There are number of types of concretes or many types of concretes, but initially or for the very first learning stage we are going to discuss only the plain cement concrete, that is PCC, and the reinforced cement concrete, that is RCC. Now let us discuss the first type, that is plain cement concrete. Plain cement concrete, which is commonly known as the PCC, is a homogeneous mixture of cement, sand, water, and coarse aggregate without any reinforcing material such as steel. The PCC is having high compressive strength and but it is weak in tension. So the concrete is strong in compression but it is weak in tension. The magnitude of tensile strength is 1 by 10th of its strength in compression. So the plain cement concrete has limited applications. The second type of concrete, which is mostly used in all types of construction activities, is reinforced cement concrete, that is RCC. RCC is a homogeneous mixture of cement, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, water, and in this type of cement, steel bars are used as a reinforcing material. Since steel bars are used in plain cement concrete, it is known as the reinforced cement concrete. So what is the use of these steel bars? When we use the steel bars, it increases the tensile strength of the concrete, because concrete is weak in tension and strong in compression. When we add the steel as a reinforcing material, the steel has basically strong in tension, so it overcomes the drawback of plain cement concrete, which is having less tensile strength. So when we use the material steel as a reinforcing material, that concrete becomes strong in taking both the compressive as well as tensile loads, or it is strong in tension as well as compression, because compressive loads are taken by the concrete, while the tensile loads are taken by the steel. As this RCC possesses the required strength of compression and tension, it is widely used in the construction of multi-storied buildings, water tanks, bridges, machine foundation, marine structure, roads, dams, pipes, etc. This RCC can be cast into a desired shape and size. It is fire resistant, durable, and maintenance free. It can be made waterproof, and it proves economical in the long run. The minimum grade of the RCC is M20. As we have discussed, now in our next slides we are going to discuss the grades of the steel. In that we are going to learn what is meant by M20. Now let us go to the concrete production. This process develops physical and chemical properties like mechanical strength, low moisture permeability, and chemical and volumetric stability. A properly proportioned concrete mix will provide mixing concrete, workability, curing. Mixing concrete. The concrete mixing is essential for the production of uniform concrete as well as high quality concrete. The equipment and the methods used for the concrete mixing should be capable of effectively mixing. Now, the next term related to this material is the curing, which is also important term from the concrete. Curing of concrete is nothing but application of water on concrete to complete hydration process of the concrete in order to get the sufficient strength. Because when we add water to the concrete, the heat gets evolved, that is, it is exothermic reaction. So in order to complete this hydration process of the concrete, we apply the water on it, as well as to gain the sufficient strength we apply the water on the concrete. This process of application of water on the concrete, it's nothing but it is called as the curing of the concrete. The concrete that has been specified, batched, mixed, placed and finished, latter can be still latter can be proved failure if it is improperly or inadequately cured. Usually, the last step of the concrete project is curing, and it is often neglected. So, curing is the most important while in any construction activity when you are dealing with the concrete. Now, why it is most important, we will discuss in this slide. This curing has the major influence on the properties of the hardened concrete, such as durability, strength, water tightness, wear resistance, volume stability, and resistance to freezing and thawing. Proper concrete curing for agriculture and residential application involves keeping newly placed concrete moist and avoiding temperature extreme for at least 3 days. So, a 7-day or longer curing time is mostly recommended. The best curing method depends upon the cost, application of equipment required, materials available, size and shape of the concrete surface. It prevents the loss of mixing water from concrete by sealing the surface. The curing can be done. There are lot of process or the methods of curing that we are going to see in the next slides. So begin the curing as soon as the concrete gets hardened sufficiently to avoid erosion or other damage to the freshly finished surface. Usually within 1 to 2 hours after placement and finishing, the curing should be start. Now let us learn the methods of curing. There are mainly 4 methods of the curing. The first method is the wet curing. In this type of method, as we are here, one image is describing the wet curing. As we are seeing in this image that the concrete surface is covered with a jute or gunny bags, and these gunny bags are kept wet by spraying water on it. So such type of curing is known as a wet curing, in which the jute bags or gunny bags are kept wet by spraying water on it. A pot filled with water having a hole at the bottom may be placed on the top of the column. So on the top of the column, one pot is kept which is filled with water, and that pot which is having a hole at the bottom. So from that bottom, water drops and it keeps the gunny bags in wet condition. So water is filled in this pot as and when required. The second type of method of curing is the spraying. The curing of walls or columns is done by periodical spraying of water by pipes and thus keeping the surface wet. The figure shows in which the application of water is done by the pipes and the surface is kept wet. So the curing of walls and columns are done mainly by the periodical spraying of water, but in this method large amount of water is required. Also, the surface is not properly cured. The third type of curing method is ponding. This method is mainly adopted for curing of concrete slabs and pavements. Here, the ponds are formed all around the concrete surface using lean mortar bunds 6 cm high. These ponds are filled with a water to a depth of 5 cm, and these are so such type of curing is mainly adopted for the curing of concrete slab and pavements. The last type of curing is immersion. In this type of curing method, it is mainly used for the curing of cement bricks or blocks. In this type of method, the concrete units such as cement bricks, blocks, pipes, flooring tiles are immersed in the water in the tank during the period of curing. Now, let us go to the next point after the curing of concrete, that is requirements of good concrete. The requirements of good concrete are mainly divided into two types, that is when the concrete is in fresh or plastic stage, and the second one is the in the hardened stage. So the concrete requirements are divided into two forms or two states, that is when concrete is in fresh state or and when it is in hardened state. In fresh or plastic stage, the total requirements of the good concrete are 6 in numbers. So let us learn each step by step. The first one is the mixability. The mixture should be able to produce a homogeneous fresh concrete. This is called as the mixability. So when cement, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate and water are mixed, this mixture should give a homogeneous fresh concrete, and this property is known as the mixability. The second requirement in the fresh state of the good concrete is stability. The mix should be stable. It should not segregate and bleed. The segregation means separation of coarse aggregates like sand and gravel from cement paste, while the bleeding means separation of cement and water from rest of the concrete mass. The bleeding may occur due to the excess of water. So these two terms are the important, and we should look after it carefully. That is, the good concrete should not segregate and bleed. The segregation is nothing but the separation of the coarse aggregates like sand and gravel from cement paste, while the bleeding means separation of the cement and water from rest of the concrete mass. The bleeding may occur due to excess of water. So there should be a adequate or proper proportion of each of the ingredients in the concrete. That is, there should be a proper proportion of cement, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate and water. If one of the proportion gets disturbed, the segregation and bleeding may occurs. Third requirement in the fresh state is also one of the most important, which is termed as the workability. Workability is nothing but the ease or easiness with which the freshly mixed concrete can be placed and finished without segregation. This workability is difficult to measure, but ready mix companies usually have experience in determining the proper mix. Vocabulary is important to accurately describe what the concrete is to be used for and how it will be placed. The fourth requirement of good concrete in the fresh state is the mobility. Mobility is nothing but the property of concrete by virtue of which it is able to cast into required shape without losing its continuity and homogeneity under available method of placing. So the concrete which can be easily cast into any required shape, but it should not lose its continuity as well as homogeneity under available methods of placing, is nothing but termed as a mobility. The fifth requirement is the compactability. The fresh concrete should be easily compacted into dense one. It should have minimum voids facilitating 100% compaction at the site. The compaction is carried out to remove the entrapped air from the concrete, because the presence of the air in the concrete may reduces its strength. And the last requirement in the fresh state is finishability. Good concrete should give satisfactory surface finish. So let us again revise the requirements of good concrete in fresh or plastic stage. There are total 6 requirements of the good concrete in fresh or plastic state. The first requirement is, as we have discussed, the first requirement is the mixability. That is, the mixture should be homogeneous. Second one is the stability. The mixture should be stable. It should not segregate and bleed. What is meant by segregation? Segregation is nothing but the separation of coarse aggregate like sand and gravel from cement paste, while bleeding is nothing but the separation of cement and water from the rest of the concrete mass. And why bleeding is occur? Because of the excess of water. The remaining third one is the workability. Workability is nothing but easiness with which concrete can be placed, transported, batched, compacted and finished without segregation. Fourth one is the mobility, which is the property of concrete by virtue of which it can be cast into required shape without losing its continuity and homogeneity. Fifth one is the compactility. The fresh concrete should be compacted into dense one. And last one is the finishability. Good concrete should give satisfactory surface finish. Now let us learn the requirements of good concrete in hardened state. That is second part. In hardened state, the first requirement is high compressive strength. The concrete should have high compressive strength. The maximum compressive strength may come up to 60 Newton per mm square after 28 days of curing. Second property or second requirement of good concrete in the hardened state is bending and buckling strength. The concrete should not bend under the load or should not buckle due to loading. Now to avoid this buckling and bending, steel is used in the concrete. The third requirement in the hardened state is the volume stability. It should have, or the concrete should have, the high volume stability. It expands due to temperature changes. So as to accommodate that, or so as to accommodate the temperature changes, expansion joints have to be provided in order to avoid the developments of the cracks. So when we see the concrete gets cracked, it is due to the temperature changes. So in order to accommodate that, expansion joints are provided. And the last requirement of good concrete in the hardened state is durability. Durability is nothing but the ability of the concrete to withstand against various weathering actions, fire resistance, resistance to acids and alkalis, to retain material its properties for longer duration of the time. So durability is one of the important characteristics or one of the important requirement of the good concrete when it is in the hardened state, which is nothing but the ability of the concrete to withstand against various weathering actions, fire resistance and resistance to acids and alkalis. Now let us go to the next very much important term for this concrete material is the water cement ratio. The water cement ratio is defined as the ratio of weight of water to weight of cement in concrete mixture. That is, water cement ratio is nothing but the weight of water to the weight of cement. So why this is important to know the water cement ratio in case of concrete? Because it has a great significance on proportion of water and cement to get the required ratio. In simple language, it is nothing but it decides, or the water cement ratio helps us to decide the proportion of water and cement in the concrete. For example, if the water cement ratio is given as 0.4, then weight of water required for one bag of cement, which is generally weighing 50 kg, will be calculated as what? As follows. So water cement ratio is nothing but weight of water by weight of cement. Now the value is given as 0.4. So weight of water comes to 20 kg or 20 liters. Now there is one graph which is showing the compressive strength of the concrete in kg per centimeter square to water cement ratio. So the strength is measured at 1 day, 7 day, 14 day, 28 day and 56 day. So the x-axis is representing the water cement ratio, while the y-axis is representing the compressive strength in kg per centimeter square. So from the above graph, we can say that with increase in the amount of water, the water cement ratio increases, but it leads to decrease in the compressive strength of the concrete. So in short, when water cement ratio increases, the compressive strength of the concrete decreases. Now let us move to the next point, that is various grades of the concrete and their uses. As you know, the grades are of the concrete, as we have discussed the grades of cement, there are grades of the concrete as well. And why this grading of the concrete is necessary? Because the grades of the concrete indicates the quality and strength. The certain type of construction require specific strength of the concrete or specific grade of the concrete. So it can be obtained by particular properties of cement, sand, aggregate and water in the concrete mixture. Now mainly there are two methods of grading of concrete. First one is the nominal method and second one is the IS method, that is Indian Standard Method. So let us learn these two methods. First method is the nominal method. In this method, the proportion of the ingredients are nothing but cement, fine aggregate and coarse aggregate, are fixed by a ratio, that is by a numbers such as 1:2, 2:4, and this is called as the nominal mix. In this nominal mix, that is which is given by the ratio 1:2, 2:4, the one number or one part indicates the one part of the, or 1:2:4 ratio indicates the one part of cement, two parts of fine aggregates and four parts of coarse aggregates. Second method is the Indian standard method. In this method, that is Indian standard method, the concrete grades are specified on the basis of the strength. For example, M20. Now, in this M20 is the grading of the concrete according to Indian standard method. Now we will see what is the letter M stands for and what this figure, that is 20, indicates. So if we take the grading of the concrete as M20 according to Indian standard method, in this M20 grade, the figure, the letter M stands for the mix, while the figure 20 indicates the maximum compressive strength of 20 Newton per mm square after 28 days of the curing. So suppose if I consider another grade, for example M30, the letter M stands for the mix, while the figure 30 indicates the compressive strength 30 Newton per mm square after 28 days of curing. Similarly, if I consider the M25 concrete, M is for the mix and 25 is the compressive strength of the concrete in Newton per mm square after 25 days of curing. Now next is the various grades of the concrete and their corresponding proportion is given in the table. For example, when the nominal mix, this table shows the both the methods, nominal mix method and the Indian standard methods, and their compressive strength, ultimate compressive strength, as well as the permissible compressive strength. Now when the nominal mix, when the concrete is graded according to nominal mix as, or the ratio is 1:3:6, the equivalent Indian standard grade of that concrete is M10. So if I say the concrete is of grade M10, then it is having the ratio 1:3:6. So for M10 concrete, the ratio is 1:3:6. It means for M10 grade of concrete, there is a 1 part of cement, 3 parts of coarse aggregates, 3 parts of fine aggregates and 6 parts of coarse aggregates. So M10 concrete is having compressive strength of 10 Newton per mm square as ultimate strength, while 2.5 as permissible compressive strength in Newton per mm square. Similarly, M15 grade of concrete is similar to the nominal mix as 1:2:4, or the ratio is 1:2:4 for the M15 grade of the concrete. That is, for M15 grade of the concrete, it has 1 part of cement, 2 parts of fine aggregates and 4 parts of coarse aggregates, which is having the compressive strength, ultimate compressive strength as 15 and the permissible compressive strength as 4. Similarly, for M20 concrete, the ratio is 1:1.5:3. Ultimate compressive strength is 20 and permissible compressive strength is 5. And for M25 grade of concrete in Indian standard, the corresponding or equivalent proportion in nominal mix is 1:1:2, and the ultimate compressive strength is 25 and the permissible compressive strength is 6 Newton per mm square. Now let us learn the uses of these different grades of the concrete. M10 is according to Indian standard, and in bracket their nominal mix is written, that is 1:3:6. So M10 concrete is used in mass concrete, foundation bed, walls, etc. M15 in bracket nominal mix is 1:2:4. It is used in RCC footing, columns, beams, slabs, stairs and retaining walls. M20 1:1.5:3. It is used in piles, reservoir tanks, etc. And M25 1:1:2. It is used for heavy loaded columns, arches and pre-stressed concrete. The next material is a plastic. The plastic is an organic substance and it consists of natural or synthetic binders or resins with or without molding compounds. So requirements of the plastics are: they provide good heat resistance, their color should not be faded easily, they should possess the good strength, their shape and size should not be distorted easily. Let us learn the uses of the plastic. Some of the uses, like as we know, the most commonly used plastic is a PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, which is used as a sheets or the flooring tiles. Asbestos filled phenolic plastics resist corrosion and hence it is used in a water closet. Phenolic plastics are used in wall panels. Plastics are also used in furnitures like sofa, table, chair, optical lenses, spectacles, frames, handles of tools, cases, waterproof doors, bags, sanitary fittings like taps, pipes, walls, etc. Mainly there are two types of plastic: thermoplastic and thermosetting plastic. Thermoplastic are linear or chain structure. They are mainly used for ties, electrical insulators, pipes, fan blades, etc. This is the examples are acrylic, PVC, polyethylene, polystyrene, nylons, etc. While the thermosetting plastics are the cross-linked or network structures. They are used in telephone receivers, switches, plugs, etc. Bakelite, polyester, melamines are some of the examples of the thermosetting plastic. Now let us learn the properties of the plastic. The plastic is sufficiently strong. The fiber reinforced plastic is still more stronger. It is durable, rustless, waterproof, scratch proofs. The plastics are light in weight. It absorbs the shock. It is free from the corrosion. It has the low thermal and electrical conductivity. While the other properties of the plastic are: it can be welded together by simply heating. It is unbreakable and resistant to acids and alkalis as well as fire. It is available in a wide range of pleasing colors, so it has no maintenance. The importance of plastic is that plastic doors on external walls and bath are not affected by water and are easily openable. Decorative and lightweight furniture are easy to clean and rearrange in buildings. Thank you. Today we are going to discuss one of the important